Hello, my name is Debbie Yuster, and I'm an assistant professor of data science and mathematics at Ramapo College in New Jersey. My talk will be about teaching Introduction to Data Science courses in Python and R using OER materials. You'll be able to download the slides after my talk at the link shown on this slide. So today we'll look at new course curricula for Introduction to Data Science. These curricula have a lot in common. They're both OER, using open educational resources. That means a couple things. They're free of charge, no monetary cost, and they're also free for users to remix or edit or alter as they see fit, subject to some conditions possibly on attribution and things like that. The courses we'll look at have no college level prerequisites. They might just require a bit of high school algebra. The course readings and the infrastructure are cloud-based. That accomplishes several things. First of all, that ensures equitable access. It doesn't matter if somebody's coming with the latest and greatest computer or with a basic Chromebook or even an iPad. They'll be able to access not just the course readings, but also the coding software. R or Python, take your pick. I've actually now taught Introduction to Data Science courses in each of these two languages. So that's a big part in examining the differences between the curricula we'll look at today. So in spring 2020, which was starting last January, I taught using materials from Foundations of Data Science coming out of UC Berkeley. This course is better known as Data 8. It's a course run in Python, and it's gotten a lot of press because every semester at UC Berkeley, it enrolls something like maybe 1,500 students. This semester at Ramapo College, I'm teaching a course using materials from Data Science in a Box, which was developed by Mina Chetinkaya-Rondel under the auspices of RStudio Education. And as you can guess from that, this course is based in R. Here's a picture of Berkeley's Data 8 course in action. You see Professor Ani Adhikari on the stage. She co-developed the course, and you see a lecture hall jam-packed with students. UC Berkeley has made themselves a big name in the data science education space. They run a big annual conference every year on data science education, and they have a big community and a lot of infrastructure around building this course, teaching this course, and helping other institutions adopt this course. Here's an example assignment from Data 8. You see that it takes place in a Jupyter notebook, or if you're an old timer, you may call this an IPython notebook. We see code cells in light gray interspersed with plots that are outputted, sometimes tables that are outputted, and narrative space where questions are asked, and space for students to enter their answers. The other course based in R is Data Science in a Box. This is available at datasciencebox.org. This curriculum has a smaller community around it, but it's a very friendly and welcoming community, as the R language is known for. And again, all the materials are available on this website. Let's just take a look at a sample assignment. So here's a sample lab assignment from Data Science in a Box, and you see it takes place in the RStudio environment, if you're familiar with that. So in the upper left, we have the code, and that code renders to an HTML or PDF output, which in this case we see in the lower right pane. So I'd like to compare the two courses. First, let's talk about the tech and infrastructure involved in each. The biggest difference by far between these two curricula is the programming language. So the Data 8 course uses Python, and the Python is done inside of Jupyter notebooks. That allows for an interactive environment for students. Data Science in a Box is done in R, and similarly, it's not done with R scripts, rather it's done inside R Markdown documents. So each of these has a different language, but it's similar in that what's outputted is a nice document. It looks like a report, which has code cells, shows the output of those cells, things like plots and tables, and has narrative for the students to answer questions or perform analysis. The interactivity works a little bit differently between these. So in Foundations of Data Science, the Data 8 course, the Jupyter notebooks are typically executed cell by cell. So as a student answers one question by writing some code, they execute that cell and see the output. There's a nice advantage to this in that it all takes place within that one document, and there are real-time checks and feedback for formative assessment, which I'll speak a little bit more about in a minute. On the other hand, in Data Science in a Box, you have all the code for the document in your R Markdown file, and then you knit that document. That's sort of like compiling it if you're familiar with LaTeX, and that renders it into the output file, which can be typically HTML or PDF. There are other options. So you render your code, and then you can view the output either right next to it or in a separate window, and you see how the output looks. And then you go back to your R Markdown document, and you can add narrative or analyze the plot or the table that was produced. The disadvantage to that is that it does not allow for real-time feedback being given on the cell-by-cell level as you get in the Jupyter notebooks. Okay, packages. So Data 8 uses a custom-built package called the Data Science package. This package was developed specifically for the Data 8 course as a sort of simpler or scaled-down version of Pandas, which is the standard data analysis package used in Python. In Data Science in a Box, the packages used come from the Tidyverse suite, developed mostly by Hadley Wickham. These are the standard packages used by data analysts. Although there are other ways to do analysis in R, students are right away handed the professional tools. I would say each of these has their advantages and disadvantages. So it's very nice that in the Data 8 course, students have a sort of simpler syntax to work with. It's a nice way to scale things up and learn. The advantage of using Tidyverse is that students right away are using the same exact tools that professionals are using. So each of those has its advantages and disadvantages. Student access is typically done through the cloud in both these courses. And again, that's for reasons of, first of all, equity, so that students can access the materials equally, whether they're coming from a Chromebook or any kind of fancy computer. But it also makes the course logistics much easier. So both of these curricula share a philosophy that you don't want to waste the first hour of your course having students struggle with installing software and worrying about package versions or incompatibilities. It's very nice to have students just click, log in, and be able to get going with the data science. So Data 8 is done via a Jupyter Hub. That's software that's installed on a server that serves Jupyter notebooks. There are a number of ways you could set this up. When I taught my course, I ran a Jupyter Hub in the cloud, in Google Cloud Platform. Normally this is a paid service, but I was able to get a Google Cloud Platform education grant, which covered the cost. However, although there was no charge, I spent many hours setting this up and maintaining it. I'm not an expert at back-end or server kind of things. So the savings in money came at a sort of time and frustration expense for me. It can be done through commercial providers that just serve the notebooks. More and more of these are starting to pop up, although I'm not sure they can accommodate the auto grading that I'll speak about in a minute. For Data Science in a Box, the easiest method is to use RStudio Cloud. This used to be freely available, but it's now a paid service. They do offer pretty steep education discounts. This is a very nice setup in that the instructor doesn't have to worry too much about what's going on behind the scenes. It's also possible to serve an RStudio server for free. You just need to have the server or have cloud access. But again, that would be more work on the back end for whoever's setting this up. Okay, auto grading. Data 8 has an auto grading software that was built for it called AutoGrader. It's developed at UC Berkeley, although now it's sort of branching out to things just beyond Data 8. I say in the slide that it's auto grading enabled because it's not just ready to go out of the box. AutoGrader does need to be installed on your server and has to be run from the command line. It does involve a bit of work and finesse to get it to work. Then again, when I used it, it was in version 0.1.14. It's now past version 1. So these auto-grading tools are very much still developing. On the R side, there's nothing that's ready to go yet, but there are a few very promising solutions. One example is a package called LearnR Hash, and the other one is called Otter, actually developed by the makers of Otter Grader from UC Berkeley. They're now expanding into R auto-grading. So those R auto-grading solutions are not ready to go yet, but my guess is that by fall 2021, I think they'll be a lot further developed, possibly integrated into data science in a box. I should mention that even if you have auto grading set up, it doesn't mean you don't have to do any grading. These exercises have a mix of simple, straightforward questions like how many rows does this table have, or find the NBA point guard with the highest salary, things like that that can easily be auto graded. But there are a lot more open-ended questions as well. Questions like trying to improve a data visualization or asking the student to explain a concept. So as much as we would all love to cut down on our grading load, we also want to make sure that students can think critically, and it's just very hard to box that in to an auto-graded setup. So you will be doing your fair share of manual grading with either of these courses. Collaboration and version control is a big part of data science in a box. It's not really emphasized in Data 8. So data science in a box makes use of GitHub for distributing assignments, as well as version control and collaboration. So even when students are working individually, they're expected to commit and push their changes to GitHub regularly. But a number of the assignments are done in groups, and each group has a shared repository on GitHub. And the students practice resolving merge conflicts and working collaboratively. That's considered a really essential learning objective of the course. Data 8 does have collaboration in that certain assignments can be done in pairs or in groups, but it would be up to the students to then get together and work off of a shared copy of the software. There's no remote collaboration facilitated via GitHub or something like that. Okay, let's compare the course materials from these two courses. Both of them use OER textbooks. Remember, that means free textbooks. So Data 8 uses a book that was written just for the Data 8 course, and it was written by Adhikari and De Niro. Data Science in a Box does not have a newly created book. It uses OER textbooks that are already widely known in the R community, like R for Data Science. And it also uses Open Intro Statistics, which is not specific to R, but it's really strongly supported by an R infrastructure. Lecture slides are available for instructors. The Data 8 slides are in a Google Slides format. You're free to copy and edit them. And the Data Science in a Box slides are written as an R Markdown document using the Sharing End package. And again, you can go in, edit the source code, and customize those slides to your liking. Both course curricula include assignments. So Data 8 comes with labs and homeworks. The labs are intended to be done in class. This semester, those who are doing it are probably doing it remotely, but those are in-class assignments. And there are a number of code checks that this auto grader can do to tell students if they got their answers correct or not. There are also homeworks that take place in Jupyter Notebooks. And this time the code checks just tell students if they're sort of on the right track, not necessarily if they're correct or not. So it's a very nice way to make sure the student hasn't misformatted their answer or something like that, but without giving away the answer completely. Data Science in a Box also includes labs and homework assignments, with the labs being intended to do them in class. This semester, I'm doing those labs over WebEx. So I have students go into breakout rooms and work on the lab assignments together. The homeworks are done independently as R Markdown documents. And because R doesn't have that in-notebook feedback the way that Python does, there are also interactive tutorials that have been developed for some of the topics using the LearnR package. Each of these courses incorporates projects, but the projects look pretty different in the two courses. In Data 8, there are 3 very structured projects that are intended to be done in pairs. Those projects are basically a very lengthy homework assignment that walks you through a longer analysis. For example, taking the words in a movie script and then classifying the movie as either action or romance using a predictive model. The project in Data Science in a Box is very open-ended. The sort of short description is pick a data set and do something with it. So students are meant to come up with the data that they're interested in and the questions that they're going to answer. So it's very open-ended, and students are supposed to write up and present their work at the end. Sample exams are also provided for both courses. Data 8 does those as in-class exams, and Data Science in a Box does those as take-home exams. Of course, the instructor could alter them and make sure you don't use those exams verbatim because they are posted publicly. The courses really have a lot more in common than they do different. The big difference is the programming language, obviously, but let me talk about the commonalities for a minute. They both endeavor to present an introductory course which is accessible and appealing to a broad range of students, not just the students who were already planning to go into computer science or statistics or something like that, although certainly those students are welcome to join too, but part of this is really an outreach operation to appeal to students who might not have thought that they wanted to pursue a STEM field. They have both believe in low barriers to entry, no prerequisite courses, no programming experience required, no hardware requirements, just a web browser, no out-of-pocket course expenses. This is, again, a way to welcome as many students as possible into the course. They both use data sets from all over: public health, science, social science, pop culture, politics, so humanities. They have a really nice range of topics that hopefully everybody finds something that they're personally interested in. And the courses also endeavor to address the politics or the perspectives that's inherent anytime you do a data analysis or even anytime you select a data set. So sometimes people think that data is just objective and black and white. These courses make a point of showing that even a data set reflects a viewpoint. For example, there's a Data Science in a Box assignment where data on fishery statistics is overlaid on a map. And you see in the data set, there are certain countries that are disputed, and even something as simple as saying, what's the name of this country? What region does this country belong to? Even that is sort of subject to the data curator's perspective or decision. So it's something to be aware of, and they don't shy away from addressing that. The goal is really to nurture students' curiosity and creativity. Yes, the students are learning a set of technical tools, but there are always questions encouraging students to sort of think in an open-ended way or be curious to explore the data further. If I had to point out the differences between the courses, well, the obvious difference would be that Data 8 uses Python and Data Science in a Box uses R. Beyond that, I would say there's a slight philosophical difference. Data 8 is really a whole ecosystem that was custom created for this course. It has its own textbook, its own Python package, everything. And it's sort of a bit pared down or simplified in order to help get students onboarded as painlessly as possible, with the idea that once they sort of get their footing, then they can move on to the next course to learn pandas or more complex things. Data Science in a Box sort of has the philosophy, let's show students the full professional tool set and all the references that real data scientists use, and let's help them get onboarded there. But we're going to sort of show them the cutting edge stuff right away. Rather than create a custom environment for them, we're going to help them along in the sort of real world environment. So you'll see even supplementary readings that come from blog posts, journals, sources that real data scientists might be reading. I think that each of these philosophies has their own advantages. So I just wanted to sort of point out that difference. I'm not casting judgment in any sense. So my tips for new instructors, know thyself. So first of all, if you're much more comfortable with one language or the other, that alone I think is a reason to pick one of these curricula over the other. You also have to know your students. So these courses have been piloted at very prestigious universities like UC Berkeley. The Data Science in a Box was developed at Duke. So you have to know your students. You may need to slow things down or pare things down if you're not teaching at an elite university. Perhaps if you're teaching a course that was designed as a 4-credit course, but for example, your course is 3 credits. So you'll have to scale things back. And the nice thing about that is these are very friendly and welcoming communities. In both of these courses, I reached out to the developers or to the community, and people were very welcoming and helping me out, putting together a course schedule and helping me see which topics could be cut if I needed to save some time and things like that. I suggest that you watch the experts lecture videos. So thankfully, both of these courses have posted videos. Well, Data 8 has posted, and Data Science in a Box is in the process of posting videos this semester. Because even if you read the reference books and you look at the slides, sometimes there's a sort of nuanced point that the author wanted to convey that's easy to miss by just looking at the slides. Just like we expect if we gave a lecture and our students skipped lecture and just read the slides afterwards, that they wouldn't get a full sense of what we were trying to convey. So I personally have found it very helpful to watch the creators' lectures and make sure that I'm getting all of the nuanced details across in my own lectures. You should expect to bang your head against the wall with either of these. And the sort of nice spin on it is you're doing something new and innovative. These are not mature curricula yet, especially when it comes to the infrastructure. The auto grading is still under development. The hosting is still under development. You will run into technical problems. Try to budget for that if you can, and do expect to spend time pulling your hair out and banging your head against the wall. I think that's just the way it goes. Join the community. Both of these have active Slack groups. They're very welcoming. You can ask your questions. You'll be welcomed. People will do their best to help you out. So I really enjoyed being a part of both communities. And a novice though I am, I found that I've been able to answer questions for other newcomers. I've been able to help people learn from the mistakes that I've made and figured out. So I encourage you to join the community both for your benefit and once you gain a little experience to help out others who are in a new position. For more information, here are a couple links to the Data 8 homepage. You kind of have to hunt around. You can look at previous semesters and all the assignments there. The Data Science in a Box webpage, where you can access things like the course pedagogy, the infrastructure, and the materials. My slides will be posted online, and if you have any questions, feel free to email me at dyuster@ramapo.edu. Thanks for coming. Good luck.